injustice, this system full of racism.
Yeah. And one thing I look at and I see between all of us, we are all united here right now about the fact that we the people are the people that put them in place. Hold on. Let's get back at the table. Why not just go start your own league?
Peace, King.
No doubt, brother.
Class, thank you.
I appreciate
it's a pleasure.
you.
No, I appreciate you.
No
it's
doubt.
a pleasure. Now, there's a lot going on as far as I think 2016. I think it's a moment and a point. Black people have to start making some clear decisions on what we're going to do and how far we're going to go with this. When you look at what's going on as far as the election 2016, and when you hear a statement where Donald Trump basically says, African Americans, what do you have to lose? And he points out our education. He points out our communities. He points out black youth not having jobs. So now he's speaking into the truth of what's going on in the black community. What do you feel he's trying to do, and what should black people take from what he's saying?
Well, he's playing with our head. That's what he's doing. You know, I go back to Malcolm. Malcolm makes his statement. Republicans are brute wolves. Democrats are sly foxes. But they both belong to the dog family. So that's how I see it. He's right. The Democrats have failed us. They have never done anything for us. They do not have our interest. Everything he said is correct. But he's the brute wolf. He's crazy enough to say the truth. You know what I'm saying? So I pick up what he said as absolute truth. He is telling the absolute truth. The Democrats have always taken advantage of our vote. What's important to understand is that the Republican Party, as we know it, was formed in basically, give or take, 1854. And it was based as an abolitionist party. It is the party of Lincoln. It is the party that fought for the so-called liberation of African people. Not in our best interest, but they fought for that. The Democrats were the ones that were holding us down. And you know, I mean, Dixiecrats, they were always like that. And they've always been like that, and they will never change. But as it relates to the vote, what I believe is important is we realize that you're going to war with an adversary that uses everything that he and she has. On your table, you have a gun, a knife, and a pen. What you going to do? Some people choose the gun. Well, what happens if you run out of bullets? Some people choose the gun and the knife. What happens if you drop the knife after you run out of bullets? Nobody ever thought about the pen, but the pen can be a weapon too. So I believe in everything counts. I attack them on all levels by any means necessary. And the vote is one of the weapons. If it wasn't, why did they take it from us? So it's important for us to understand what part the vote plays. But don't ever think that you're voting for someone that's looking out for you. Because you're not. That's not how this system works. One of the characteristics of being a politician is being a liar. You could never tell the truth. If you ever told the truth, you would never get the vote. Everybody wants to hear the sweet stuff. Everybody wants to hear.
Fantasy land.
Absolutely. Politics, governance, from an African perspective, is service to the people. What we got here is pimpdom.
Pimping and hoes, right?
Yeah, that's basically it.
And we're the hoes.
Yeah, yeah. And basically, the John, well, actually, we're the John.
Okay.
The whore is the lie.
Okay.
So the politician is the pimp pushing the lie on the John who's seeking that euphoric concept. This system does have no place for it, not just for black folk, white folk too. The peoples of European descent are beginning to realize this system ain't for me either. Go back to feudalism in Europe, and you'll see the same principle that's going on is going on currently right now. This is feudalism, but I call it sophisticated feudalism.
Okay.
So that we're dealing with the same issue. And one of the things which was interesting in terms of what Bernie Sanders was doing was he was attempting to strip all of that away for us to see, you know, what's going on. And he did a rather interesting job of making us see. But even in his so-called socialism, that's why he couldn't talk to black folk.
That's why he used like a guy like Killer Mike to speak to the black people.
Absolutely. Which which is smart.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
strategic.
that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
You got to bring people who will listen because you don't have the capacity. Bernie Sanders sounds like a mature man of European descent,
Yes, sir.
who basically, although he was from New York, he's basically Vermont, and his mentality is a Vermontian concept where he expresses himself that way with his hands moving
Yeah.
all. You know, and as black folk, we checking it out. No, we see what's going on. We understand what's going on. And so to me,
But he gave us a sense of hope. Some black people a sense of hope as well, right?
yeah, well, he spoke to a truth. You see, the one thing that came out, which I encourage our people to do, is to understand truth when you hear it.
Okay.
No matter whose mouth it comes
Yes,
through.
sir.
But to be able to balance it, listen to Donald Trump. What he's saying, what he said in that
It was
speech,
very accurate.
very accurate.
Very
Very accurate. But he's not the
Yeah.
answer either.
But see, that's the thing about it. I feel like when we get into these situations, we speak and we think emotionally, right?
That's
We
it.
are triggered by the emotion.
That's it.
So in the emotional
That's
concept,
it.
we're thinking like, well, this guy is a racist and this. But then in the same rational content, is he saying anything that's really wrong?
Yeah.
Isn't it true? And even the message that he made about the Mexicans and the immigration, black people don't need more immigration because then we are moved out of the jobs that we're barely holding on to. And the way he said it, the content was probably taken the way left and right. But in the sense of the reality for us, that it's not going to do good. We continually fight battles that are not ours.
Yes. But you see, brother, with that concept in mind, we'd be better off if they did get the jobs. Because it would make us hire ourselves.
So then you would say, if Donald Trump does become president, would that help black people because now black people will be united? Or do you feel like either or it doesn't really matter?
It doesn't make a difference who wins. The system is corrupt. Nobody can help. If we had someone like President Barack Obama and he couldn't do anything, ain't nobody gonna do anything. Nobody's gonna do anything.
So how do you feel that in this election term that they have blacks swinging to Miss Predator herself, Hillary Clinton,
They're
because
all-
of the Obama, because of the Trump scare
Yeah.
effect?
Yeah. And because you'll always have, just like you have the brothers who are with Donald Trump,
Yeah.
talking what they talk. It's not until we as a people unite ourselves in a strong understanding of who we are as a people and negotiate what it is that brings us to the economics of the issue.
Okay.
We have got to come together to the point where we are bringing, we are aggregating our resources
Yes, sir.
to become a fighting force for, okay, there are some folk that will go out and spend money with other people. There's nothing we can do about that. There will be people who will support Donald Trump. There are people who will support Hillary Clinton. There's really very little that can be done about that.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not going to spend my time trying to convince them to do anything other. I want to talk to the people who are ready to listen, get the paralysis out your analysis, and begin to deal with the issue as is, because you will always be a slave on their plantation no matter what. That's why they got you out there doing what you're doing. Okay, if that's what you want to do, you go ahead and do it. But there has to be a group of us that are sophisticated enough, that are knowledgeable enough, that have the wisdom to be able to use this system in our best interest. So when they come to us, we say, look, we're not your people.
Okay.
You go talk to them. When you come here, you're going to talk about issues.
Okay.
And we're going to frame the conversation.
Yes.
And this is what we're looking for. And as our numbers grow, but we have got to get into a position. The great psychologist, Dr. Amos Wilson, once told us that great organizations solve their people's problems and meet their people's needs.
And we don't do any of those.
No. If our children during the summer have to go to someone else for a summer employment job, why should they respect us when they have to go to other people for the things that they need, for the basic things that we need? What made the Nation of Islam so strong, what made the Universal Negro Improvement Association, Marcus Garvey's movement, that we celebrate, so strong, you could go get a meal from them.
Yes, sir.
You could get clothing from
Yes,
them.
sir.
You know, you could have your problem solved and they would meet your needs. We need to create organizations. What made the Black Panther Party so strong? They had a medical system.
Yes.
They had a dental system.
Yes.
They had a legal system. They had a feeding program. They had an educational program. it met the people's needs and solved the people's problems. For as long as we are so disassembled that they go to other people, then we will never be that force to be reckoned with.
We have no leverage.
And why should people respect us? When we're dealing in the world we're living in, we are living in hell. We're trying to think angelic in hell. Angels don't survive that way. In hell, you got to be devils.
Right.
You got to understand where you
Almost
are.
like blacks are being too kind, too polite.
In a world that doesn't speak that language, Malcolm said, speak in the language you're spoken to.
Wow.
And you've got to be dynamic enough to say what you mean and mean what you say. And until we get to that point in our delivery and in our very essence, when they know, when you come around us, you can't talk to us that way.
We mean business.
That's the bottom line. Don't even come around. And that's where we have to get to as it relates to this type of conversation. It don't make a difference who is running. We have to understand, politics is about manipulation.
Yes, sir.
We need to manipulate the politicians.
Yes.
One of the first things we need to do, we need to flush our toilet of those individuals who are of African descent, who are using us. You represent
lot of
us.
flushing.
Hey, one flush will get them all. They need to understand, we vote you in. You serve our needs.
Yes.
You don't get in and then serve your own needs. We will vote you out. We also need to let them know, we'll vote a white person in.
As long as that white person is
Is going to
fulfilling
do
the needs.
what we tell them to do.
Right.
Because, see, sometimes this pimpasta takes advantage,
Say that one more time, Ken.
pimpasta
I like that. I like that. Okay.
takes advantage of our love of our people.
The loyalty that we have.
That's it.
Of a black man.
That's it. And they laugh because they know they're going to vote me back in. I just come in every 4 years or 2 years and just say all the things they need to hear and they'll vote me in. No, we need to let you know that we will vote someone else in. And it don't have to be a person of African descent. If a person of African descent is not going to meet our needs and solve our problem, if we can control what that person does, we will vote them in.
We just must control the narrative. And control
That's it, the bottom
exactly
line.
what the bottom line.
The
is.
bottom line. And then that may get them around. Now, what I'm saying is very controversial. A lot of folks don't want to hear that. Because, see, we're still caught up in this game that we play. I don't play like that. You'll do as I say. You'll do what I want. And if you don't, you're out. Even if we have to bring, first of all, we would avoid the problem with bringing a person of European descent to represent us if we should homegrown our own people.
Yes, sir.
We need to homegrow our own children in our community to be the leaders. We need to tap into the street organizations, also known as gangs. Those are the leaders. Those are some powerful people.
Oh, they're most definitely influential.
That's it. We need to take those leadership skills and begin to hone them in the interest of our people. But we got to solve our needs and solve our problems and meet our needs. And what's happening is that the gang that I've experienced, that I have seen, is the most perfect family you can have. Because when men and as fathers of these children do not take the responsibility to raise the children, and you have a gangbanger that say, look, you hungry? Hey man, I'll take you. I'll buy you
You
what
need
you
protection.
want.
Right.
You need protection. You need
Right.
clothing. I'll take the sneakers off my feet. Because that gangbanger know he got 8 pair back in his house. He'll say, take my sneakers. Okay, everything that young person needs is right there for the gang. That's the family for our children. And according to your intentions and your purposes, I may not agree with, but I certainly respect the fact that you have made a perfect family.
And then at the same time, when something goes down, retaliation is.
That's it. I got nothing to love. You fam. Okay, if they mess with you, they mess with me.
Negroes can't even do that for their own.
And we as fathers don't do that.
Wow.
We as men don't protect our children the way the gangbangers do.
Don't protect our queens.
So what right do we have to speak? Really, when we stop and think about it, I'm not about nation building. I'm about empire building. Nations rise and fall. Empires last forever.
Nice, correct.
Nations are built on people. Empires are built on families.
Okay.
That's why you had dynastic rule. They're built on families that hand down a legacy to their
Right.
children.
Okay.
And that's what we have to start. We have to start thinking empire building.
And stop talking nation building. Empire.
That's it.
Thank you, Ken.
That's right, man.
That's a correction I need.
Empires ain't built on baby daddies.
True.
No matter how we look at it, it's built on committed men and women that have an issue, which is the raising of the nation. And every nation's strength is based on the children doing better than me. Everything is geared towards the betterment of the children. Because we know the children are the future. Whatever we are doing, the children are the future. They are going to be who take what we have, take it to the next level. It is my job to make my son better than me.
The better model.
My job to do that, to ensure that he has all the things. Now, my dad did a great job. My dad used to tell me, I wished on my son what I should have done.
Yes, sir.
That's what I grew up listening to my father tell me. You're going to do better than me. I want you to take it to the next level. My father worked for the post office 44 years. But he always came home. He always took care of my sister and I. My mother was always there, always took care. So I have an idea of what happens in a family in a project. Well, I grew up in a project. So I know that in the projects, no matter what people may say negatively, I grew up in a home. It was a project. I grew up with family members. I grew up with other families who strive for better for their children. So with all that happens in our projects and all that happens in our communities, there are powerful people in our communities to be respected. And so when my message, I understand what happens in our communities. At the same time, I also understand that we come from a people who have struggled out of all of these things and want the best. So not only do I understand what the problems are, I also know what the solutions are, because I believe that the things that my parents and my friends' parents strove for was the perfection of this empire that they wanted to build. I've seen it. I know it. They may have worked for MTA. They may have been bus drivers. They may have been cab drivers. My mother was a secretary. My father worked in the post office. But they all wanted the best for their children, and they wanted the best for the community. And that's the way it is with 80 to 85% of our community. But when they want to show us, they always show us the parts that are
the negative.
yeah, the parts that that we have been impacted. But I love our people unconditionally.
Yes, sir. And we're supposed to.
Absolutely, gangbanger, pimp, prostitute. I don't differentiate.
Yes, sir.
So I love our people unconditionally. I may not agree with what your choices have been,
But love has to be love.
but if you black still alive in 2016, I ain't got nothing but love.
Wow.
Because that's a miracle right there.
Deep right now. Now, one thing I wanted to touch on was the last question is the liberation and equality and freedom of the blacks, is it economics?
It's part of it. It's part of it. It's part and parcel, because I belong to an organization, going back to my career in education. There was a time where there was a program, it was called AUSSIE, AUSSIE. It was Australian and United States in Education and Economics.
Wow.
When the Australians came to America, what the European world was attempting to do was to unite the English-speaking world. England, US, Australia.
Okay.
They were attempting to unite through language their world. So when they came over to us, I was director of social studies in one of our districts, 35 schools. We had 25 elementary and 8 junior high schools. And 27 elementary and 8 junior high schools. And being part of social studies, the 5 areas of social studies: geography, history, politics, economics, and social. Because part of their thing was economics, was pure economics, but there was an attachment to the economics of social studies.
Okay.
Although they didn't want to do it, they had to include me in their meetings. Because as a black man, the Australians just didn't care for me being a part, but they had to include me because I was the director of social studies. There are 30-odd districts in New York City. How are you going to explain why you don't want the black social studies directors with what? But you see, what it was is that they realized that education and economics is a team. It's 2 sides of a very important coin. Because as you know better, you do better.
Yes, sir.
When you know where to spend your money, you spend your money.
No doubt.
You see? So when they brought me there, I realized that education and economics is intrinsically and extrinsically. It is like knitting of a sweater. You can't remove one without the other without destroying the sweater. It's the very thread of what the fabric of white supremacy is. Education and economics.
Education, economics.
They're attached, because when you have a wisdom of life,
Okay.
you then make choices and you realize the importance of economics. But if you don't know that, then the economics isn't there. And if the economics is there, you need the education to be there, to know where do you spend your money.
Yes, sir.
And so I came to realize the importance of how intertwined these subject areas are. Economics is extremely important, but if you make, we are one of the richest, as an African people, we are one of the richest nations on earth. If African folk brought their money together, we would be a nation.
It would be no problem.
We would be richer than the great majority of nations in the world.
But we're all over the place with it.
That's it. So without the education, without the knowledge, the economics means nothing. With economics, without the education, it means nothing. So we need to understand holistically. Because, okay, so we have money, but if we don't take care of our bodies, we're sick. So now what? So we need to take care of our health and nutrition. We need to take care of our minds to be strong. We need to have our education. We need to be physically fit. We need to do exercises that build up your stomach muscles.
Wow.
Because your stomach muscles are what keeps your back straight. Okay. Most of your major organs and glands are attached to your back. So if you keep your abdomen strong, you keep your back strong, you keep your organs and glands in place and strong. And so this has to be something that we do very seriously and understand the whole person has to come together. So there's no one area that's important. Because you can be as rich as you want, but if you're sick, what good is the money? Okay? If you're out of shape and if you are constantly getting ill, what good is all that money?
You're spending all that money on medical bills.
That's the bottom line. Which are not going to help you anyway. Because today's medicine does not cure people.
It kills people.
Yeah, and that's its purpose because they make money. This system makes money. When I was in the military, if you didn't need an X-ray, they wouldn't give you one. Because when the military pays for it, they're very careful with what they give you because they don't want to spend their money in areas that you don't need it.
Wow.
But when a doctor can make money giving you an X-ray that you really don't need, then they make money. But if you're living in a system like when you go to other parts of the world where the system itself is part of its health piece,
Yes, sir.
they're very careful. If you don't need an X-ray that's going to cost $300-400, they're not going to give you one. They're going to say, don't worry about it. You don't need an X-ray.
You're all right.
You're all right. If you don't need pills, they're going to say, you don't need those pills. Forget that because they're paying for it.
Yes, sir.
But when you're living in a society that is fueled by making money like that, then they make money that way. So our answer is holistic in nature.
Okay.
There is no, to me, my thoughts, there's no one area that dominates our emancipation and liberation, but an understanding of them all. We need to be holistic in our approach towards this. By any means necessary. Malcolm was the man. By any means necessary. Our health, nutrition, our education, economics, spirituality,
All in one.
Neely Fuller wrote a book on the compensatory code of white supremacy, and he outlined 9 areas. Religion, economics, labor, gender issues, he called sex, education, law, politics, entertainment, and war. Those 9 areas, he says, where we're attacked as a people. Minister Farrakhan spoke about creating ministries. We need a ministry of spirituality, a ministry of economics, a ministry of labor, a ministry of gender issue, a ministry of education, a ministry of law, a ministry of war, a ministry of entertainment, and a ministry of politics.
Wow.
And under those, the very best of the best should be directing the issue of African liberation under those issues. And when we can do that, and let all different peoples, if you're into religion, I don't care if you're Hebrew Israelite, I don't care if you're Jewish, I don't care if you're Christian, Rosicrucian, Buddhist, Muslim, I don't care. The issue is the liberation and emancipation of black people. It is not your religion. It is how your religion can lead to the emancipation and liberation.
Wow.
Same thing with all of those areas. The issue, see, we're two personality drawn.
Yes, sir.
Oh, he think he all that. Does she have a weave?
Got short hair.
Yeah, who cares? The issue is the liberation of our people. I work with people who can't stand me.
Yeah. And you can't stand that.
And I didn't stand.
I understand it.
But the issue was what we had to deal with.
Yes, sir.
And I have in my life worked with people under these conditions very successfully. I'd like to say at the end, when we were finally successful in what we were meant to do, I'd like to tell you that we cared for each other. But we didn't. We still couldn't stand each other. But that wasn't the point. But I do know, I gained a respect for them to be able to deal with the issue and still have the problems that we have or the challenge, because there are times good people just don't get along.
Yes, sir.
You know, all good people don't have to say, well, I don't understand, I didn't get along. These are great people, but good people don't get along. The issue is not whether we get along. The issue is, can we get along long enough to be able to deal with the issue at hand, which is the liberation of our people.
And that's it.
That's my bottom line. Because first of all, I don't want to eat in your house, and I ain't inviting you to mine. So it's not like I need your friendship,
Yes.
nor do you need mine. The issue is the issue for our people, and that's what we have to be focused on.
That's it.
That's my bottom line. We're too personality driven. We get into each other's business too much.
Let's
And
focus
that's
on
business of
what
our
the
people.
business is.
That's it. See, I mind my business. I belong to a very exclusive club. Very exclusive. People claim that they belong to it, but I belong to it. It's the club, the name of the club is I Mind My Own Damn Business. Because the day I started minding my own business was the day I realized how much business I had to mind.
No doubt.
I don't see how people have the time to get up in other people's stuff.
Man.
I've been married 35 years, brother. And like, being married is a task.
Yes, sir.
And I'm so busy trying to perfect my love and respect for my wife,
Did you have no time to do all the?
I don't have time to get into other people's business. I just don't have the time. And when I see people getting into other people's business, I sometimes wonder, how is that relationship going with what you have? Because you must not be paying proper attention or due diligence to your own relationship.
If you're busy.
Knowing what I've been going through with mine, I know you can't be handling yours. You know, and you know, there was a brother used to say, who's making love to your old lady while you making out with someone else?
Man, right?
You know, I mean, I remember that song. We used to
Jules.
dance back in the
Jewels
day.
gonna be dropped right now.
Yeah, man. I go back to the day when we was in there and said, who's making love? Johnny Taylor. Who's making love to your old lady while you are out making love? Well, that goes with everything in life.
Yes, sir.
You know, who's taking care of your business while you up in everybody else's? Mind your business and get your thing together.
Before you try to get everybody else.
That's it. Because what you'll find, if you spend enough time criticizing how dirty my backyard is, you didn't have time to clean yours.
Exactly.
So as a people, we have to start looking under those conditions as what will liberate us, what will help us move forward. And these are some of the ideas that I have. They're critical to me because I see the importance of what it is that we have to do, brother. And I also see our great success. I know what we can do. I see it every day. But we're just,
We've done it.
yes, we have.
We've done.
Yeah,
Now we just have to do it again.
that is it. That is it. Nation of Islam, Universal Negro Improvement Association, Black Panther Party. I look back to these organizations so well organized. Dr. King's movement, all of those served a purpose in our existence. Yeah, man, all of that. All of those. And what we have to do is start looking at these areas and begin to go back to where we were. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just got to bring back what we had.
And not nation build, empire build.
Yeah. And again, I understand that I'm dealing with semantics. Some people say, well, nation and empire is the same thing, but I differentiate because of the nature of the difference between when you're people bound and when you're family bound.
Yes, sir.
Family is the cornerstone to what builds a nation, empire.
Empire.
That is what. Now, if you're saying that nation is that,
Yes, sir.
okay, if that's how you're defining it, I'm with you. That's not my argument. But I am saying that there is a difference between attempting to build one on people and build one on families.
Yes, sir.
Because families gives you the view towards the future. People gives you the impression of the here and now.
And that dies with a person.
That's
and
it.
it lives on with a family.
That's it. And that's why empires last forever. And nations rise and fall.
Peace, King.
Peace.
Bless.
I appreciate you. No
Appreciate
doubt.
you.
All right.